And so everything goes right in there, makes a big feeling, and then we puke that feeling back up. We then just puke it up. This is a highly reactive type of state. It's normal, right, because there's only 4 core issues and 3 ego states, for every human to move into an area of exposure depending on what happens. But it's a very uncomfortable state to be in. So as a result of the exposure, of us feeling exposed, the teen shows up and is like, oh no, you're not exposed, I'm gonna shut this shit down. And so basically, you close right up. So instead of being exposed, you become closed. Let me finish this really quick and then yes. So basically, you're a little dot, and instead of like flapping in the wind, being exposed and emotionally volatile, you build a wall around yourself. And you're gonna have a whole segment on this, by the way. We have a couple of hours just on boundaries. This issue is actually about boundaries. And so we're gonna devote some time to creating those for you so that you have some boundaries and can better mitigate this. But essentially, this wall feels pretty good at first because you're not as emotionally volatile. It feels better. It feels safer, right? But the problem is that nothing gets in there because you're all walled off. And the real problem is nothing gets out. So essentially, you feel safer, but you're isolated. And so thoughts of loneliness increase, darker feelings increase.
Sorry,
I guess you can relate. Yeah, and that's great. No, let it, I can be somewhat formal, but I'm not, like, we're here to talk about stuff, so let it do whatever it needs to be, okay? So exposed, highly reactive, closed, less reactive, more comfortable, but it's not very functional. It's somewhat functional, but not as functional as it could be. What is the most functioning is this functional adult state, which I didn't mention to you that actually it's called the functional adult because it's actually a higher functioning state. It's not a chronological adult state. Anybody can be a chronological adult. That only requires you to be 17 or over, but this is a functional adult. Okay?
Oh, higher state. Okay.
Because it is, you're right, to differentiate between chronological adult and functional adult. Okay? So if I'm in an adult place around my safety, I'm not flapping in the wind and all exposed. I'm also not all closed off from everybody and everything. I can do this wonderful thing where I can protect and contain myself. So I can protect my reality from yours. In other words, have my own thoughts and feelings about things that aren't always impacted by everybody else. And I can also contain myself in a reasonable way instead of over-containing. This is over-containing, and this is under-protection. The adult can be more in the middle, which is protect and containing of yourself. So that looks like this. I'm a little dot, but I build a nice buffer around myself. This buffer is called healthy boundaries, and that's why you're gonna learn about boundaries. And this enables you to slow things down as they're coming in. So instead of having huge reactions to things, you can recognize the reactivity is starting, work with yourself in the way I'm gonna teach you, and then you can slow it down so that you basically aren't as reactive. But it also has, these holes also allow you to kind of let things come out. You get to choose when, how much, the level of intensity, all these other things become a choice. And that's what happens in this area whenever you move back over into this adult place around safety. I'm trying to tell you too. All right, so if I'm in a child place around my worth, I'm less than, right? Less than you. If I'm in a teen place, I'm better. If I move into an adult place, then I'm, again, the same equalness as you, all right? That's more of an ideal place. If I'm in a child place around safety, I'm all exposed, raw, and vulnerable, okay? If I'm in a teen place around my safety, I'm all walled off and closed up. This is much better. This is relational, this is non-relational, this is too relational, basically, okay? If I'm in a child place around the issue of perfection, then I am defective. So I feel and think that I'm defective and broken. So the word is defective. And again, it kind of requires an action. I'm either able or unable to do something. If I move into a defective place, then I think it's impossible. I'm broken. If I move into a teen place around perfection, I'm not defective and broken, I am perfect. And I demand it of myself and of you too. And that's what perfection is about. So I'm not defective, I think and try to be perfect. And like I already told you, it doesn't exist. Like it literally does not exist, all right? So you have to learn how to give it up. So if I'm in a teen place around perfection, I think I'm perfect and I demand it of myself and others, typically, if I'm in a teen place, all right? The idea is that you move over to be realistic. So you're gonna make mistakes, but that doesn't mean you are a mistake. That's the difference there, okay? So it's a more realistic viewpoint of this plane of existence, which is I'm not gonna do everything perfectly well. There are things I'm gonna be good at, things I'm not gonna be as good at. There are things you're gonna be good at and not as good at. But I have to be realistic about it. So it's like a balanced place. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It seems like the core issues of worth and perfection,
they inform each other directly.
corollaries.
They are, very nice. So worth and perfection really inform each other very strongly. This one requires an action, but it has a direct feedback loop to worth. Safety and needs are actually highly correlated, which we haven't gotten needs yet, but those are really correlated too. So yeah, the perfection directly informs worth. Safety and needs are directly informing each other. All of them inform each other as well. But there is a real link between I can or can't do something, and then the worth thing becomes very paramount.
And I would say it was it seems to me like the exact opposite would be true. Because I'm not worthy, there's nothing I can do about it. And I can't do anything about it, well then therefore that makes me worthy. It feels like they can...
Well, and so that's kind of, the thing is like, there's nothing I can do about it when the child's in charge, when this ego state is taken over. But typically the teen will show up and be like, no, I'm gonna make you perfect. Let's do perfect things to fix that problem, basically.
And it also correlates perfectly. If I'm perfect, I'm also better than you.
Yes, you're gonna probably move into that. But I want you to know that whenever you, depending on the context and how you're triggered, it's possible to be in a less than and acting in a perfect way at the same time. Like, you can be in any area depending on the triggering. Like, in one context, like something happens, you notice that you're feeling better than, but you're also feeling very exposed. And then maybe you're also feeling defective, but maybe you're trying to be perfect. It depends on the context.
All around the same issue?
The same thing can create a different response depending on the context, meaning what the trigger is in the environment.
That would create righteousness, right? That less than with perfection, it's like, I'm not going to stoop to your level.
Oh yeah, that actually would probably, if I'm not going to stoop to your level, that's more of a better than. Like, I'm not going to stoop to your level. You would move into a better than at that point. Because the language is really important here. Like, language is kind of like what, your feelings come from your thoughts. They're not magic. And so whatever language you're hearing is what you create. So the child and teen speak in certain languages. It's just these things, that's all that they can talk in.
So you apply the correction to whatever seems to be at the forefront, that might get knocked out, and then you're like, oh shit, there's this other one around the same subject, so you apply the correction to that one, and so forth and so on.
So sometimes you have 8 corrections to make if you're triggered in every box. Other times you have 2, other times you have 4, other times you have 1. It depends on how you're triggered, essentially, on those 4 core issues.
Good. And do correction in one of those boxes, does it apply then to every area of your life? Do you have to do that for every kind of trigger?
Whatever context you made the correction in, that's where the most impact will be. But it does extrapolate over because you're at such a deep level. So basically, like, let's say you make a change around whatever one of those issues around work, it'll impact your personal relationships as well as relationship to your body, et cetera, but less so.
So you're basically saying that at max, you might have to do 8 corrections for every single area of your life.
Correct.
And then if they're less than perfect corrections, you might have to do them again and again.
There's no such thing as perfection.
No, because you said before that sometimes they resolve 100%, but most often they wouldn't.
Right, but I'm not going to use the language less than perfect because perfection doesn't exist.
Less than 100% then if you will.
What?
Less than 100% then if you will.
Yeah, exactly. But it would never be 100%, maybe less than 99. So defective, perfect, and then if I'm realistic about things, okay? Make sense? Yeah? All right. If I'm in a child place around my needs, then I am needy. Needy. So it's like an insatiable need that you can't fill up. I don't know if you guys ever experienced that, like where you've just been really, really needy. You were mentioning Coke. Coke creates that. Yeah, a lot of drugs they'll push you into the child around neediness as they wear off. And that's that, like, I have to do more. That's
the target core social media.
of the needy components. Yeah, people trying to make sure they're okay.
Everybody's waiting for that dopamine to like.
Yeah, because they're trying to increase this. So they get very much like this. Trying to prove they're not this. And you're going to help me not be this way. And that is basically social media in a nutshell. It's a shit show. Like, it's terrible. And it's like any other new invention. It's all great for about 10 or 15 years, and then people start going, what is this doing? It happened with canned food in the 40s. For 20 years, canned food was the thing in America. It was like amazing that you could take food and you could vacuum seal it into tin cans that caused Alzheimer's, but you could can this food. It literally it revolutionized food and consumerism. And then after about 20 years, what happened in the mid-'80s especially, is in progressive environments, people were like, wait a minute, there's like stuff in this food. It's like not fresh and it's like leaching stuff into it. And all of a sudden, people were like, wait a minute, canned food is bad. Or at the very least, in America, we would say it's like ghetto or whatever. Like, it's undesirable, right? The same thing's going to happen with social media. I'm not saying it's not going to be around, but the way that it's done is insane. It's making everybody nuts. And it's because everybody has these things going on, this polarity, and then you know what everybody's thinking and feeling because they tell you. You didn't used to know that someone was a racist or a classist or whatever. They were just your neighbor. Now you know all that stuff, and then it triggers people in these issues and they start arguing with each other on social media. It's a pile of garbage. I don't recommend it at all. Okay, so if I'm in a child place around my needs, I'm all kinds of needy. If I'm in a teen place around my needs, I'm not needy, I'm needless. I don't need you. I don't need anybody. Get the fuck away from me, basically. And that is needlessness. So that's like an anti-dependency. This needy one is more of like a codependency, right? And then an interdependency, in other words, the kind of healthy way of relating, is that you are aware of what you want and need and can make it known. And I want you to add on there, and can make it known. So where it says aware of needs and wants, add on there, and can make it known, K-N-O-W-N. In other words, I can ask for it or let people know what it is.
Cope, anti, and So when not suffering fools will fall underneath the needless.
Not suffering fools well? I know that phrase, but make the link for me to needless.
So having low tolerance, people.
That's more exposure.
Okay.
And so then there you go. Okay, good. All right, so quick recap, right? My worth, whether I'm worthy or not in any given moment, I can feel less than other people or better than other people, or I could be equal. When we get triggered, we move into these. Safety, I'm either exposed and flapping in the wind, or maybe I close up, or maybe some combination. People tend to bounce back and forth between them, actually. But that's going on, and then if I learn to protect and contain myself, I don't move into those places anymore. And that's about boundaries, and I'm gonna do we're gonna have like 3 hours on that tomorrow, okay? Or no, day 3. Oh, I got it that time. You would think that I'd know the order of what I do. But it's gonna be on day 3, we'll do boundaries, all right? Perfection, I'm either defective and broken, or I'm perfect, okay? Unreachable standards is another way to think of perfection, and no standards is a way to think of defective. Just to give you a different lens, because I think that will also help you, all right? So if I'm realistic, then I'm in this adult place around that issue. Needs, I'm either needy or needless, or I'm aware and I can ask you to help me meet my needs or my wants. Your needs are actually for you to meet on your own, by the way. Your needs are for you to meet on your own. Your wants, you should go to other people for. It's a huge difference, okay? Everybody thinks that basically for like 40 years, everyone's been programmed through like therapy and marriage counseling books. Well, are your needs being met? Are they meeting your needs? No, that's not their job. Your needs are for you to meet on your own. That's what adults do. As far as like your wants, yeah, you should go to other people with your wants and have them help you with that, right? Like I want to make more money, so I'm going to go talk to my friend about what they're doing. Or I want to have a certain type of relationship with a woman or a man, so I'm going to go to you for what those wants are. I'd like you to do this, or can we help me with this? Those kinds of things. But your needs are for you to meet on your own. People ruin really good relationships with this idea. Like, well, you're not meeting all my needs. It's like, well, go meet your own damn needs. And then let's kind of get together on other things. It's a very different relationship. And I'm not saying it's isolatory. I'm not trying to make you into little monks or something or isolate you. I'm telling you, that's how you get close to people. Because, yes, now you want to enrich and you want to grow and you want all these things to happen in the relationship instead of like, I'm all needy, need to fix the stuff that I didn't get from mom and dad, do it now. Or you know what, you're not acceptable to me anymore because you're not giving me what mom and dad didn't give me. It's essentially what a lot of people are saying without knowing it. So it seems like for the most part that everybody understands this, and everybody does understand it on some level, is what it seems like, okay? All right, so in your book, if you turn the page, you will see another way to kind of look at what I've been talking about. So in other words, that matrix is what you're going to use. That's your little guideline, your framework. It can be a lens to view the world too. Because as you start assessing yourself along those 4 core issues and kind of plotting yourself out, you'll start to categorize other people in that way as well. But you need to use your powers for good and not try to manipulate people because you know they're in a certain state. It is possible to move into manipulation of others with this work, but that's not what we do, okay? Now I do some corporate consultation around negotiation, tactic, and other things, but that's a little different and we're not manipulating, okay? But you can know a lot about a person if you start assessing yourself of where you are on those 4 core issues. You can then assess the person across from you and possibly speak accordingly, but don't manipulate. And that's more of what that state feels like and can afford you, basically. This issue around perfection is also just about fallibility. So this thing about perfect is like an infallible state. It's this idea that you are not actually a human. So I just want to point out that this is like fallibility run wild, like where you feel like you're broken because of it, but this is more like, hey, I'm infallible. So there's no humility whenever we're in that place. The last thing I want to say is that these are the only things that the teen can do. There are no other options for him. The teen is the nature of the state whenever it takes over. The teen is better than. The teen is closed. The teen is perfect and is needless. That can't change. That's who he is or she is, and whenever you bounce into that place, that's what's going on. Same here. This is what the child is. The child is less than, exposed, defective, and needy. There's nothing inherently wrong with either one of them. It's just that they don't work very well whenever you're trying to live your life. And you're trying to construct a life that has balance so that you can express yourself more fully in whatever areas of life there are. So it's just a little bit more functional, a lot more functional, to learn how to move yourself over to here. And then you won't repeat the patterns you've already set. Because see, these things get kind of fixed. Like when something looks like a familiar trigger to us, we just bounce into one or the other and we don't even notice it. So what I want you to start to be able to do is to notice whenever you move into defective thinking or perfect thinking or standards or exposed, you kind of start to notice, and then you can apply a correction that you're learning on your last day. We're going to do a child and a teen correction on day 3. And so then you'll be able to have a living experience of what it looks like to make one, because we're going to use, one of you or 2 of you from here. So you'll have a way to work with yourself from there. Okay?